Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome back to Let's Build an Aircraft Carrier, or the Carrier Canoe, I guess we could call it. And it has been 3 days since I recorded this original footage and that now I am commentating over. And I gotta say, this was not the most satisfying thing to build. I kind of ran out of steam on this one. It happens when you're playing from the depth. Sometimes you're building a thing, particularly a big thing, and you're just like, you know what, this isn't gonna work out the way I want it to. Like, this craft isn't ineffective, I guess. It's just, it spams a lot of missiles, and just, yeah, I guess that's effective enough for what it does, and it does launch aircraft, so in that sense, it is a successful aircraft carrier. It carries aircraft, and yeah, aircraft carrier carries aircraft. That's what it does. So yeah, but overall, I don't think I'm gonna continue this, continue it after this video. This is where I'm gonna just leave it be, and I'll probably, well, if I build an aircraft carrier again, I'll know what to do and what not to do. I'll do a better job, hopefully. And what you're seeing here, actually, is that I'm just widening the, I'm basically just extending the upper deck outwards a little bit, just so the thing looks a little bit better than an aircraft carrier, because like just having the aircraft hang over the sides like that was actually bugging me a little bit. It looked a little weird, and so we're not gonna have that. We can't be having that at all. So we're gonna do this. Well, this, yeah, you can see it. This thing you see happening right here. And I'm also happy to say that hopefully I shall not be yawning and tired, because quite frankly I'm sick and bothered, rather than sick and tired. Yeah, see what I did there? And yeah, sick and bothered and tired of basically doing these post-commentaries when I'm just yawning and it's clear that I'm about to fall asleep due to tiredness. Not apathy. I refuse to be apathetic about this. This is serious business. This is serious internet business, and we should take it seriously on the internet, I guess. So yeah, there's what else to say about what we're doing here? Is like, this is the part you can really tell I've never built an aircraft carrier deck before. Like, that was already pretty obvious in part 1 of this. But yeah, I should also mention, you've probably already noticed that this video is not 2 hours long like the first part. I totally could have done, like, a 3-part series of this, each one being just an hour long. But that didn't happen. 2 hours, most of the work was done in the first part. And yeah, just a bunch of other things. Well, just other things that happened, mostly nitpicky things. And yeah, it's going to be interesting reviewing some of the footage of this, because I have mentioned things that happened in this video in the last stream I did, so we're kind of jumping back and forth in time a little bit. It's interesting, we are all time travelers now. Although I guess we all were time travelers to begin with, because we're all traveling through time. It's just the only direction we're traveling is forwards, or progressing. Did you know that not all cultures see time as linear? I guess, I'm not sure if it's Western or just the English-speaking, the Anglosphere, so to speak, that thinks of time as linear and moving forward. Darn it, I don't remember which culture it is, but there's at least one out there which sees it as going backwards. Like, you go backwards through time because you can see the past, but you can't see the future. So that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, you go backwards through time, you see what's in the past, but you don't see what's in the future, because it's like, you know, your back is facing the future. Which is an interesting concept. It is at least as valid as going through time forwards. So yeah, that's how do we talk about cultural time travel so early? We're less than 5 minutes in, and we're already not even talking about the aircraft carrier. Man, I love that helicopter. Anyway, so here we are putting the deck on the back, just making sure it looks all rosy and good. And I freely admit that, well, later in the video you'll see I try and put some token superstructure on this. It's not very super, and frankly it's not very structure either. And yeah, but yeah, this is the, like, really, like, a canoe shape doesn't work so well for an aircraft carrier. To be fair, the canoe shape doesn't actually work that well for large vehicles in general. I kind of, with the Star Slung and the other large vehicles I've made with this kind of canoe shape. I've kind of just brute forced it. It's just, they're big, and they got lots of empty space. They would actually make better front-siders than broadsiders, simply because the whole empty front of the canoe you can just fill with like spaced armor, and that would be pretty strong. I hardly ever do that. I should make a front-sider canoe, like a ship, like something like the Thresher Shark or the Trebuchet, but canoe. Yeah, there's an idea for the next Let's build. So yeah, it's like the reason I've taken so long to get around to this is just I was hopelessly demotivated this week. Mostly because, when was it? Like, well, I said in the last Let's Build, the token Let's Build, emergency Let's Build, let's call it, that I was just super tired. I ruined my sleeping cycle. It happens. And I ain't as young as I used to be. And so, yeah, just in one night you stay up slightly too late and you are just tired for 3 days straight. All you young people in the audience, and by young people I mean below the age of 20. I know you're there. I know you're there. Are you brushing your teeth? Good. But in any case, yeah, just talking about that is I remember roughly around age, like I'm 29 by the way, for those of you who don't know. That's not old. I like to joke that I'm an old man because I feel, I don't know, I just feel like I've got a grumpy old man vibe to me, and I have since the day I was born. So it's like, it's not a new thing, and it's not actually related to age. I'm just like grizzing. I just like grizzing about how time passes on, and just I don't understand the young people anymore. And by young people, meaning people who are 5 minutes younger than me or more. It's a fun thing to... It's just a fun thing I do. Or at least I think it's fun. I think everyone around me is just like, who is this crazy person? But anyway, so, yeah, so saving the canoe carrier and just looking at it, looking at the handiwork. Aircraft, like, as a lot of people have said on the first video, is that aircraft carriers aren't actually that meta a thing in From the Depths. Simply because, why would you make one big vehicle that carries around a swarm of smaller vehicles when you can just make one super big vehicle that can, you know, have the firepower of all of them put together and then some? And also it's slightly more complicated to build and etc, etc. From the Depths is kind of, it's one of the weird disconnects from reality it has, is that in real life, swarms of smaller things tend to do better in warfare than just a few really big things, because the swarms of smaller things are cheaper, they can have a, like, you know, they can, if they focus on firepower, they can just generally, you know, they can just swarm things, and there's good examples of that. Numbers don't necessarily win you anything, but they definitely help. So I'm trying to think if there's a few good examples of this. It's like the modern trend to, I guess, like, think of it like this, like UAVs. So, which is gonna be more effective long term? It's just having... Well, no, darn it, what's that? I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, I guess it's like, well, the classic example which I was trying to avoid is like in World War II. The Germans tried to build wonder weapons, so they tried to build things like the Tiger, the Königstiger, the King Tiger and all those things, and the Panther, and you know, the Jagdpanther, the Jagdtiger, the Elephant, the Nashorn, and other like big, heavy armored vehicles, particularly towards the later end of the war. And meanwhile, the Soviet Union just kept pumping out T-34s, just non-stop, because they knew that it worked well. And the Americans, they just kept making Shermans and improving the Shermans and just having new variants of the Shermans. And like the Brits, they had their cruiser tanks and their infantry tanks, and they just upgraded them and just had more of them, so to speak. And just, yeah, so that's one example, is just, you know, big expensive things getting outclassed by just smaller, cheaper things that are just easier to replace and easier to make and just have a lot of firepower for their size. The classic one being World War II was kind of the end of the age of the battleship as we know it, which is quite a brief period if you think about it. I think it was less than 100 years from ironclad warships to like the Bismarck class and the Iowa class. And yeah, the what was that thing? The Richelieu, the French quad-turreted battleship. So yeah, it's like actually quite a brief period of history when you take it as a whole for battleships to running around, and then they got completely like outplayed by aircraft carriers in real life, because the aircraft carrier just sits safely long way away from the actual fight. The airplanes go off and do it. They're small, they're hard to hit, and you can stick torpedoes on them, and you can stick really big bombs on them, and they drop their bomb, they blow a hole straight through whatever ship they're attacking, and then, you know, they sail home, assuming they haven't been shot, and they have a cup of tea. End of story, really. And it's just, yeah, it's a repeating thing if you look at, like, World War II history. I realize that I'm talking about this history stuff because, quite frankly, what's happening right now with the token superstructure on this thing is not that interesting. It's me figuring out how the hell to get it nice and smooth to the point it actually looks good. I have no idea how long this took me. It took me a long time. But anyway, it's just like World War II was kind of the first like death knell for the battleship, and enter the aircraft carrier. And the aircraft carrier has kind of been the capital ship, so to speak, ever since. And like, actually, a lot of modern navies, they don't have like really big carriers. Like, I forget which nations do, but I believe like number one is the United States. They've got more I think they're called super carriers. I know that the military nerds and the history nerds are going to correct me anyway, so I'm not too worried about getting that wrong. But yeah, like those nuclear-powered things, the Nimitz class and all that stuff. America's got the most of them, for sure. I don't know who has others. I think most other countries, they have kind of smaller carriers that just don't carry as much stuff. Like, they carry less aircraft, because they are smaller aircraft carriers. Herby-der. And, yeah, and so it's just one jet fighter just loaded with an anti-ship missile can just, it can take down a ship that is literally thousands of times bigger and heavier than it. Well, heavier. Not sure about thousands of times bigger. I don't think the dimensions are that extreme. Square cube law, guys. But anyway, From the Depths does not work like that, as I've said. So the problem with that is, main real-life advantage of carriers is that each plane that it can launch can carry a single missile that can just straight up cripple or even sink an enemy vessel. Not so in From the Depths. Like, if you try and strap huge missiles to your jet fighters, they're going to be huge jet fighters, and they're kind of not feasible to put on a carrier, unless you've got the CPU to handle things that are like 70,000 blocks big, in which case all the more power to you. I can't do that. And the other thing is range. Is kind of the whole point of a carrier is that because its planes like get launched from it and it flies off, and they fly off to do the actual fighty bits, it can sit pretty, like, I don't know, behind an island or something. And it's not in any direct danger. They're not designed to take punishment. They're not really designed to be, like, in the thick of it. Which makes sense, because their job is to launch planes at things. And, or not even at things, just launch them, and then the planes go and sort things out. And that doesn't happen in From the Depths because, as has been noted many times, unlike real life, things happen at a comparatively shorter range. Like, you know, even, like, lasers and APS, and, like, really long-range missiles, they tend to get launched at things that are within visual distance. So, yeah, that's not aircraft carrier range, like, not even close. So, honestly, like, in From the Depths, if you want to use swarms of planes, just build swarms of planes. You don't need a carrier for them. So, yeah, carriers are kind of, they're actually similar to, I think they're in a similar category to walkers, in that, you make them for giggles. You make them because they're cool. Like, not to say that you can't make an aircraft carrier, or, well, or even a submarine character or drone carrier or whatnot, and have it not, and it's ineffective. One of the great things about From the Depths is that, particularly if you know what you're doing, you can make almost anything work. It's one of my favorite parts about this game, is just, you know what, you could say, screw it, I'm gonna try and make this work and see how well it does, and you could fail, but you only fail for now. I remember, like, it's always fun to talk with people in From the Depths about your first boat, first ship, I guess, and just how much of a colossal failure it was. Mine was terrible. It was my first attempt at a missile cruiser, and the thing capsized immediately, and just it was a double-hulled canoe with like missile towers on it. So yeah. Anyway, the carrier's looking alright. It's got token superstructure and all that stuff. And yeah, what is past me doing? So a lot of this video is going to be combat testing, simply because I was like, well, I don't know what else to do with this. So yeah, I was just testing the aircraft launch now that there's some new superstructure there. And I believe later in the video I add some more near the back, which I then remove, because the torpedo bomber on that thing, the Opal Krill, was colliding with that extra superstructure, and it was just not a good time. And also, I should mention that the Diamond Wasp, my go-to all-round jet fighter thing, I upgraded that, so it's got an armored tail now, so it doesn't get its tailplane shot off, and it's got better missiles on it, infrared, that can actually shoot down squirrels, because ye gods. The tutorial I did the other week about, like, basically how to start a campaign, and I spawned in a squirrel, a flying squirrel, not a ground squirrel or a sea squirrel, a flying squirrel. Yeah, just, I got a little bit embarrassed because I spawned that in and said, like, oh, you have a versatile thing as your starter vehicle, and it can do these things. I should really upgrade the Damselfly as well, because it does not have that armored tail. Anyway, so we got this aircraft carrier that, at the very least, from the top, it is shaped something like an aircraft carrier. And, so yeah, what else happens in this, really? What happens in life? Life, the universe, and everything. Rest in peace, Douglas Adams, you mad lad. Anyway, so it's still quite a fast thing. Does have a bit of a Tokyo drift on it, but considering it doesn't actually aim weapons and doesn't have anything that produces recoil, not a biggie. Not a huge biggie. Oh yeah, I prefab this token tower. It's the token tower, and I almost yawned. Clearly 2 coffees were not enough. I needed 3. And maybe some cocaine. Don't do cocaine, kids. Like, as far as you're concerned, I didn't even use that word. Got it? Got it? Good. Do Coca-Cola if you absolutely must, but just mind your sugar intake. In fact, don't eat sugar. That is like... I think I've dieted it like maybe once in my life, but it was more of a lifestyle change about 2 years ago where I decided, you know what, no more sugar. And I still eat sugar, but complete abstinence is actually easier than moderation, and sugar is not actually something you ever need to eat, because it's just quick energy, so to speak. It's something that's broken down immediately, and you're immediately like, oh, ooh, I have energy for stuff now, which is why you crave it. Your monkey brain, so to speak. The part of you that does not realize you live in civilization where food is plentiful and easy to get. I hope it's easy to get for you, the person watching, because if you're struggling to get enough food, oh boy, I'm gonna look silly, and I feel bad for you, and I hope life gets better sooner rather than later. But yeah, just what was I saying? Oh yeah, so yeah, sugar, you don't actually need to eat it ever, so don't. And that's really hard, by the way. You are gonna, the first few weeks, you are gonna be craving it because everything's gonna taste bland and not very fun. But if you stick with it, the fun thing that's happened with me is that, because I'm not eating sugary crap anymore, and, it's actually too sweet for me to eat now. Like, if I tried to, like, drink a regular Coca-Cola, as in with something that's loaded with sugar, it's got, like, something like 6... Like, a can of Coca-Cola, I think, like, 330 milliliters has something like the equivalent of, like, 6 teaspoons of sugar in it. It's, like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, that's too sweet for me to drink. My palate, the way my palate is now, I would spit that right back out. I would, like, bleh. Like, not so long ago, it was a friend's birthday, and there was cake. There was, in fact, 2 cakes. because one of my other friends is a lovely person, and she tends to do overkill when it comes to stuff like this. But anyway, there are 2 cakes. I tried a bit of one, and I immediately started to feel sick after the first bite. So you just have a bit of a lifestyle change, and like it gets easier the longer you do it. So if you're feeling chubby, just lay off the sugar. It's not... Maintaining weight is not as simple as just cutting one thing, one substance out of your diet. But no sugar is a good start. Like, I don't know. And it also depends on what you classify as sugar. Mine is quite a rough and ready definition. Oh yeah, we're putting missile defense on now. We're gonna put some flares on. And I think I'd try and put huge decoys on here first. And I don't have room for that. I didn't feel like making a huge hole for it. But yeah, so it's not just sugar, of course. There's the bad fat, which I can't remember which it is. And then there's carbohydrates. You can't overdo those, because frankly, those are just sugars in disguise. And, yeah, like, I don't know, salt also. Don't eat too much salt. It does weird things to you. I don't remember what exactly too much salt does to you. Definitely makes you thirsty. But it also, bad for your kidneys? I should not be giving out dieting advice. I'm just realizing right now that I have way more holes in my knowledge than actual knowledge. Ever start talking and realize you don't know anything? Because I do that. I do that a lot. Anyway, so what we have here is we've got an asymmetric hull for the large missiles. And as it turns out, this hull design I've got here, never mind that it's an aircraft carrier, is actually really good for distractor missiles like this, because the deck is made of rubber and alloy, and the thing is very flat, so it's got a very low radar signature already, to the point where I think that putting distractions on the hull, on the main hull itself, might have been a bit overkill, because the distractions dropped by the aircraft are actually distracting missiles away. Please don't mind the random noises coming from behind me. They are not a threat to you, because you're watching this in the future, and whoever is committing murder in the neighborhood has probably stopped now. But yeah, so what are we doing here? Ah yeah, we're armoring, just lots of armor layers. This is probably the tankiest aircraft carrier I've ever seen. Like, talking about real-life aircraft carriers again, or I guess modern warships in general, I believe they basically have bugger all armor at all, because there's not much point. Because the amount of armor you need to stop an anti-ship missile is, like, it's actually not worth it. You might as well just build another ship for the same cost. So it's really a game of... modern warfare in general is just kind of boring and terrifying at the same time. It's that it's a very lethal game of cat and mouse. It's just whoever sees or detects the other guy first, shoots first, and hits first, is the guy who wins, because that's like, it's one-hit kill pretty much all the time. It's the same with tank combat, I believe. It's just, there's really, like, the really ultra-modern battle tanks. They've got such big guns on them and such powerful shells that a lot of the time, the armor is only designed to, like, survive one hit. So it's not like ye olden days, or the olden days, I should say. Proper use of Middle English. Whenever you see something that's a Y, it's probably not actually a Y, it's probably Thorn, which is a letter now lost to the English alphabet, which is a th sound. They didn't used to have the TH for that, because frankly TH is weird. But anyway, it's not like in World War II where super heavy tanks were basically immune to anti-tank weapons until someone made a bigger gun. But yeah, it's like these days, it's like even an advanced battle tank, you... assuming it hasn't got some form of active defense, I believe it gets absolutely flattened by, you know, a tank gun that's on the same technological level. It's just, you know, it's like a 130mm gun. Which, if you're too used to playing From the Depths, by the way, that doesn't sound that big. A 130mm APS in From the Depths? That's not much. That is like a Gatling gun. Gatling gun. Vulcan gun? Somebody was trying to correct me the other day on what the official term for a rotary cannon is, but I forgot because it was a very long essay in the comments, and I have a lot of procrastinating to do and can't get around to that. But yeah, so yeah, 130mm is from the depths. It's not that big, but in real life, especially for a land vehicle, that's huge. Like, you look at a picture of, say, I guess you could go with, like, I don't know, stick with German tank design for consistency. You look at a Panzer I and see what kind of diameter gun did that have on it. It was like, I think it was like 20mm or something, at best, 20, 25. And you look at a modern Leopard, like Leopard 2, and it's got like a, what was it? It's like a 120mm gun on it. It's like, whoa! Like, the diameter is like 5 times bigger. And that's just the general trend of it. It's just you stick, like, a bigger gun on the thing. Because, frankly, that's what works. It's just the tank design is biggest gun possible, please. Most effective gun possible, please. More range, more firepower. And what are we doing here? I forgot what we were doing. What are we even shooting at? Oh, an iron cordon. Alright, that's why I was like... Alright, so we're testing the... what do I call it? The missile countermeasures. Oh yeah, the Opal Krill has taken a bit of a knock to the head. And yeah, so the iron cordon isn't perhaps the best... Well, it's a good starting measuring stick for your missile decoys, because it is high stakes. If its missiles hit you, they do hurt a lot. So, first start, and also their missiles are big and easy to see. So, yeah. Like, honestly, what I really have done here is I've got a rubber missile cruiser that has some aircraft on it. I could just, you know, park a whole load of suicide drones on this thing instead, and like... Except suicide drones don't really work that well in the campaign anymore, or at least not the ones I've made, because the ones I've made are not incredibly good, I will freely admit. But it's just they get blown up and then you've got to build more. You can't just repair them, you've got to build more. And it's much harder now to just keep endlessly producing, you know, sub-vehicles from a mother vehicle. It's just doesn't work as well. The game doesn't work that way anymore, especially if you drift into enemy territory, Quake Wars, and yeah. Actually, who here has heard of Enemy Territory Quake Wars? That's another multiplayer game that I played all by myself for the longest time, just with bots. I tend to do that. Like, it's a funny thing. Like, if you rank the videos on this channel, like, see, like, most popular first, I think still holding in at third place is a video I made ages ago. And it's just a critique. It's saying why you should play Vermintide, as in Warhammer End Times Vermintide, by yourself. I have no idea how and why the algorithm latched onto that video in particular. Because it's like, it's an opinion. Maybe it's the thumbnail that's striking. It's got contrasting colors. Maybe it's the topic. Someone playing devil's advocate and saying, like, hey, here's this game like made from the ground up for co-op. Play it by yourself, it's more fun than you think. But yeah, it's like, how did that happen? It's like the YouTube algorithm, chasing the algorithm is a little bit, because that's what YouTubers do, by the way. It's not so much chasing the, chasing what the audience wants and how to attract an audience. It's like, it's kind of that, but also chasing the algorithm, because the algorithm of YouTube always changes. Like, and you don't know what they're gonna change it next, because I believe that the YouTube staff are always tweaking it, because they want, to their credit, I believe they do want it to be as, like, fair as possible, so everyone, who produces content can, like, I don't know, have somewhat of an even footing, because, ye gods, it's, like, it's changed a lot over years. Like, I remember at one point that... And this, it's kind of weird, it changes so fast that people hold on to, like, older ideas of what works and what doesn't. I believe that once upon a time in the day, your videos would be more recommended, like, based on how many subscribers you had. So subscriber counts are really important. And even to this day, people ask you, like, to get a measure of how successful your YouTube channel is. Like, oh, how many subscribers do you have? It was like, alright, I've got such and such, I've got like 11,000, and they're like, wow, that's really good. Except that, in many ways, is not the most important number for a YouTube channel. The most important number is your average view count, and your average view duration, and whether people, you know, actually sit through the ads on your on your video, because that's what actually gets you that sweet ad revenue, bro. And, so yeah, like, subscriber count is, well, I guess it's an easier number, it's a visible number, so if someone asks you, like, people have asked me before, like, oh, how many subscribers do you have? And I can just pull out my phone, check the channel, and say, oh, I've got such and such. And they can be like, wow. And then, but if people ask me, like, a more, I guess, accurate question is like, what's your average view count? And I'm like, give me a few minutes, I need to check that. And they're like, I have already lost interest in this conversation. I'm gonna go talk to someone else now. And I'm like, oh, I thought you were genuinely interested. And they're like, nope, I'm just making conversation and networking. And then they walk away, and then I feel lonely, and then, you know, I play From the Depths and feel better. That's, you know, that's what video games are for. When society snubs you, you go play a video game and feel better. That's not the only purpose to video games, by the way. Like, absolutely not. Have a social life, people. It is actually worth it, and I say this as an introvert. Like, I remember once, I was, before I got seriously into YouTube and just the other things I'm doing now, I was in a temp agency. I was a temp worker. So I was basically lowest possible rung on the corporate ladder, and I worked in a few offices for about a year and then stopped, partially because I hated it and didn't want to keep doing it, but also because the agency I think they just straight up forgot that I existed. It was just like, yeah, they didn't actually get me any decent offers after that. So here we are now. But yeah, I remember one of them, and it's probably a sign that they're not actually a super good agency if they don't actually listen to you or believe the things you tell them. It's like, I told them, like, guys, I'm an introvert, I would rather not have a job that involves, say, dealing with clients. Rather not have a job that involves me dealing with the public every day, because, you know, I guess, how do you describe it? It's like your social endurance, I guess. Mine, as with many other introverts, it runs out quickly, so just, you know, I'm talking, like, if you have me constantly talking to people for a day, that is tiring for me, like, because I have to engage my brain more than an extrovert would. Like, an extrovert just responds better for that. Like, everyone gets socially exhausted, it's just we all need alone time eventually. But yeah, one of the agents of this temp agency just essentially laughed in my face and said, dude, no, dude, like, you're not an introvert, like, I know it. And I'm just sitting here, like, after spending basically my entire school life having to go to counseling to learn how to talk to people, and just only coming out of my shell at university, and just, you know, having a long, hard road to be as confident, even remotely, as I am now talking to people. And occasionally I do laps. I'm just like, oh god, what do I say to this person? I don't know where they're at. And here's me sitting there in front of this guy who's straight up laughing at what I'm saying, and I'm like, dude, you don't know me. Your job is to help me find a job. That's like why I've signed up to this agency, and you're just straight up not listening to me. So yeah, it's just probably a good thing I'm not rolling with that crew anymore, because it's like, for crying out loud, if people are coming to you for help, be it in a professional context or just a personal context or anything, listen to them. That is one of the best things you can do for them. It's one of the most valuable things you can do for them, is just listen. Like, and I mean listen, don't just be quiet while they're talking. just be quiet and look them in the eyes and engage with what they're saying. Make sure it goes in one ear and stays there. And by the way, what I'm doing right now, I keep forgetting I'm doing post commentary on a video about From the Depths. But anyway, so I've just placed another engine, and I'm armoring it up with some spaced armor, because of course why not? Because there's going to be a LUM-S in here, and this is another way that this vehicle is kind of a flop, because I remember responding to a comment on part 1 of this video, is basically like, what was it? It's like, how do you build big things so easily? And I'm like, well, the short answer is practice. Like, I have built any number of large hulls, and sometimes there have even been effective ships made out of them. But, yeah, one of the key things to do when building large craft in From the Depths, it's like real life. You've got to plan ahead. You need an actual blueprint, even if it's only in your head. And it also helps to prefab a lot of things, so you prefab a whole bunch of individual components separately ahead of time, and you just put them all together as you're building the thing. And I say that now because things like CWIS, like basically anti-missile cannons, and LUM-S are one of those things you have to plan ahead for, because repeatedly with LUM-S system, the LUM-S I actually end up using on vehicles is very token. It's not very strong, and it doesn't really accomplish much except to swat the occasional small shell or missile, simply because it's cramped. Like, I don't have enough real room for it. I don't, like, yeah. It's just like, this LUM-S is not good. I freely admit that. I was like thinking, I'm just gonna jam a LUM-S in here, because some LUM-S is better than no LUM-S. Bah. I never get tired of that pun. But yeah, so this LUM-S is like, you know, for those of you who know lasers well, you might want to close your eyes for this next bit, because it's not good. It is my lazy LUM-S. It is just a whole bunch of like single input cavities, and just, you know, it's the laziest LUM-S in the world. And it's not terrible. It can be effective, but it does have to be kind of big. But yeah, it's like yeah, so super lazy, super lazy. It's just using the fill tool, and like, it's handy if you don't have much space, but yeah, this is not nearly big enough to adequately defend a ship that's as big as this. Like, the bigger your ship, the bigger the LUM-S you can stick on it, the more things the LUM-S can zap. Quid quo pro, QED. No, that's not what quid quo pro means. That's not even what QED stands for. I don't remember what QED stands for. So yeah, it's like, what is it? Why did I go all the way over there to snatch that? Alright, so putting the exhaust in. I actually kind of hate, I like this engine. This is an injector engine I call the Flat Jimmy, simply because it's flat. But yeah, I tend to use injector engines a lot, simply because they're easy, and it really does not matter that much, because they're still more efficient than most steam engines, and but not so well. Here's the thing: they're not fuel efficient. They're like, darn it, it's hard to describe. I was messing around with steam engines again the other day, and good news, I'm getting better at them. Eventually, that steam engine tutorial is going to be made, and it's going to be so good when it does. But I need to actually build vehicles that use steam engines, because, and I know there's going to be somebody in the comments, because there always is, saying that, dude, steam engines are easier than fuel engines, like, what's your problem? And it's one of those things that, yet again, just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for me, because I latched onto fuel engines, because back in the day, when I was first learning fuel engines, there were some very good tutorials for fuel engines. R.LUM Gaming. Sorry to name drop and open up old wounds for those of you who've been with From the Depths for a while. But yeah, R.LUM Gaming was like a From the Depths YouTuber. He covered From the Depths overwhelmingly for the most part, and yeah, he's no longer doing anything. Hasn't done anything for years on From the Depths. And yeah, he just, like, he did some really good fuel engine tutorials, and it was good, and that's how I first learned to do them, and, just as, updates happened and they changed, I was like, okay, and then, you know, I could use them, like, you know, and people occasionally would feed me the odd tidbit, and yeah, I've just had way more experience with fuel engines, I guess, but steam engines, I feel they're not very intuitive. Like, here's the thing. Building a steam engine in From the Depths is not that difficult. Like, there's in-game help, and you can just put the things in the right places, and you will have a functioning steam engine. The trick is making a good steam engine, one that's efficient, one that's effective, one that is like a nice, even shape, so it, like, fits snugly and is volume efficient. So, yeah, it's like that, I feel, is actually kind of hard, because in the experiments I've done with steam engines, okay, I can have a steam engine, and it does a certain amount of power, and, yeah, and the thing, like, I think I should probably take back what I said before, that injector engines are more efficient than steam engines, because it depends on the context. Steam engines, when they're at kind of full burn, and they're at maximum pressure, are very, very efficient and produce lots of power. But yeah, you need to keep that pressure up, because otherwise they'll start burning it like crazy again to get that pressure back up. I think, like, I don't know, there's probably more misinformation about steam engines and From the Depths than there is actual information. But yeah, it's like, it's, for whatever reason, it's hard for me to wrap my head around it, and it's hard to explain it. Like, steam engines are a little bit like... It's a little bit like armor and From the Depths. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Like, I simultaneously love and hate making armor tutorials in From the Depths, because I've made a few. I've made 4 so far. Back in the day, I did 2 armor tutorials, which were very popular. A lot of people watched them. It helped a lot of people, I feel. Like, it was just a helpful video for, like, how the armor mechanics actually work in From the Depths, because... like, the in-game information on how armor do is a bit sparse, and you kind of need to look for it really hard and do experiments and stuff like that. But yeah, like, I felt that was good, but it was such stress making them, because it's such a fiddly technical subject, and like, oh, there was some bile in the comments, let me tell you that. It's just, I don't know what it is about armor and From the Depths, but really... the people who have no perspective on anything, including just game difficulty, they like to come out to play for the armor things, and they like to argue against things I've thoroughly tested, literally on screen in some cases. And it's a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, that's been the case, like, for basically every armor tutorial I've made, all 4 of them. And steam engines are the same way, except I haven't even managed to make a steam engine tutorial at all. Simply because I have tried. I've written a script, I've written some crib notes for it, and I've got the fortress all set up with the examples on it. And I start recording, and I start talking, and just at some point in the recording, I realized that I am not being confident in talking about the subject. And that might sound like, wait, come on, BorderWise, you don't have to be confident, but yeah, you do. Because if I don't fully believe what I'm saying, like, why should anyone else? Like, with steam engines, like, I say something like, oh, here's the efficient way to do this, and if you do this, then you can do this. And then at some point in the recording, it's always been like, really? Are you sure about this? Are you absolutely sure? And then it just gets to the point is like, actually, no, you're right, I'm not sure at all. I should talk about what's happening on screen. I'm doing a really terrible little bit of superstructure right here. Did I delete? I've forgotten what's happened. I've just been so busy talking, I haven't been watching. But yeah, it's like, I have not gotten rid of the second superstructure yet, spoiler alert, and I'm just trying to make this, I guess, Lamb's pogo stick look somewhat less terrible. But yeah, because I tried to put the LAMS nodes on that token superstructure on the sides there, and it just was not working. It's just the angles are all wrong, and I didn't feel like it. And here is my attempt to make this superstructure slightly more super and less not super. Try and make your superstructure super, people, because I definitely have trouble with that, even after I've made, like, several superstructures. And, like, it doesn't matter what I do with superstructures either. Like, there'll always be somebody who's, like, probably makes model battleships in their spare time or something like that, or just has looked at all the replica builds, or has played World of Warships or something like that, who's just like, that's not actually what a superstructure looks like. You gotta do this and this. Sorry if I'm sounding, like, snarky to the point of meanness, but really, like, a superstructure, like, I'm gonna Google superstructure right now. I don't usually do this when recording, but I am gonna look up for you on my phone, on the internet right now, the definition of superstructure, because, the definition doesn't include necessarily what it looks like, it just includes what it is. So, let's go here. Superstructure. I'm a trained professional, I can do this. Superstructure. A superstructure is an upward extension of an existing structure above a baseline. This term is applied to various kinds of physical structures such as buildings, bridges, or ships having the degree of freedom 0, in the terms of theory of machines. I don't know what that last bit means, but there you go. A superstructure is just, it's basically an extension of the main structure that's above a baseline. So, I could put a box, a literal box with square edges, on my ships, and it would be a superstructure. And there'd be nothing you could do about it, because it's a superstructure, it matches the definition. Now you can say it's not a good looking superstructure, that's fine. And, you know, that's absolutely fine. And I would probably agree with you on that. But saying, like, superstructures don't look like that, well, depends on which one you're talking about. Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna look at Google image search right here. Yeah, looking at the Google image search, like, it can literally just be a box. Like, yeah, there's even a picture here that I'm not gonna put on screen right now. Good luck finding it for yourself. Like, actually in terms of a house, superstructure is technically everything above the foundation. So, yeah. Chew on that. I'm assuming a lot of people watching this already knew that. So, I don't know what I just was talking about and why I went on a mini rant about it. What is past BorderWise doing? I hope he's being more productive than me. Oh, he's adding extra LAMS nodes to the back that are probably not gonna do anything, really. Yeah, this not bad for first, well, I guess second attempt. Second attempt aircraft carrier BorderWise, but I think next time you could do a bit better. Just a little bit. Because mostly this is just a big canoe with missiles on it that, like, you know, and a token superstructure and a token LAM system that kind of accidentally has aircraft on it. Like, bravo. We're not even done with the video yet, but yeah. Oh, dear. So yeah, I need to... If I ever want to do an advanced, massive inverted commas, an advanced ship tutorial, I need to get into the habit of planning things out ahead. Except that takes a long time, and at any point in that process you just lose motivation, then you lose motivation and the whole project crawls to a halt. Which is why I prefer making like small to medium sized things, because you can just fart it out in an hour or two, or less than a day. But massive things, big battleships, big things like this. Yeah, and this is where I'm talking about, this LAM system is just not doing its job against the trebuchet, because these big APS shells are actually one of the main reasons to have a LAMS on your ships, is because they really, really hurt if they hit you, and LAMS is Especially continuous lamps is basically a hard counter to them, unless they're moving very, very fast, or they're kinetic shells with, like, huge amounts of health. So yeah, I kind of extend, I just make the lambs bigger. When in doubt, make it bigger. That's what she said. But yeah, so... yeah, this kind of carpet lamp system. Ugh. Actually, I don't think the first thing before I make it bigger is I put some destabilizers on it, and spoiler alert, that accomplishes nothing. So I might as well zone out and start talking about other things again. What to talk about. Yeah, it's just, Jesus. From the Depths is such a complex game that it is easy to forget entirely about certain mechanics if you've been distracted by other ones for a while. It's like, yeah, what's a good example? Like, I think you can roughly divide the From the Depths player base into two categories. There are the people who, like, always use energy weapons, and that's kind of forefront in their mind when they build things, and that includes defending against them. And then there's the people who always are, like, about the kinetics, so the APS, the crams, the missiles, the stuff like that. And, yeah, you can see that the destabilizers have accomplished absolutely jack, diddly, and squat, and we've got things just flopping into the water for absolutely no reason. So, yeah, bravo, bra, freaking vo, with bra. And I believe this is the point where I decide, you know what, this freaking thing over here isn't actually doing anything, so we should probably delete it. Oh yeah, he, meaning me, in the past, repairs it first. So, yeah. What are you doing, past BorderWise? What are you doing? Don't forget mirror mode, past border. Well done. I should actually say thanks to the people on the last stream I did, which was a weird stream. Like, it tends to go in weird directions when I don't actually plan what I'm gonna do ahead of time, and I just take suggestions from chat. It tends to end up weird and sometimes not working very well, but that was good because I learned things, and one of the things I learned is that if you hit Alt-N, that automatically puts a mirror mode line down the center of your vehicle, which is super convenient, and I did not know that because, quite frankly, the game never told me, and I've never heard anyone talk about it like before now, and I read basically all the comments, so you'd think someone would have mentioned it by now. But yeah, it's like, I'm not even sure if it's in any of the in-game tutorials either. So yeah, this is the point where I say, you know what, bugger it, we gotta just make this bigger. Honestly, I could have made this thing even more big. Like, I could have really extended it out there. Like, really extend it. Really extend it. Like, I actually chicken out a little bit. Like, I really could have extended this a lot further. Honestly, I could have, But I could craft. Oh no! No! Oh no, people keep using apparently use my videos for ASMR, and I guess it's working. My own voice is lulling me to sleep, or at the very least just watching me faff around with lambs. It's very soothing. It's very soothing to watch past me make bad lambs. I was about to say bad lamb systems, but that's like laser anti-munition system. It's like, R.I.P. in peace. Rest in peace, peace. Oh boy. And if you wonder, for those of you wondering where I'm using poles and have not watched my armor tutorials, poles are basically volume-free air gaps, so there is a chance that, at least a chance that hash and heat doesn't actually go through them and penetrate, and it will just trigger them early and just very convenient. And don't talk to me about ERA. ERA is an acronym I don't like, unless it stands for, ERA. Evil Rodent Armageddon, which is my favorite Pulp Fiction horror movie that doesn't exist. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, we've reached that point where I'm gonna start saying Things which are strange and peculiar. I actually don't remember how I opened this video up, so for all I know, that was also pretty strange and peculiar. And quite possibly even peculiar and strange. And you can see that right now, past me is doing something. I think... What was I doing? This is the problem with recording the post-commentary like days after the original footage. I don't remember why I kept pausing. I could have been scratching my bum for all I know, or answering a text, or briefly pondering the meaning of the universe. And oh my goodness, there's wasted space in that compartment. I could have stuck more lambs in there. I could have stuck more lambs and we could have had mutton for days. But we didn't. So yeah, like it's this kind of point that I'm kind of faffing about and just trying to find ways to improve this thing that doesn't involve rebuilding the entire thing. Oh my goodness. No! Caffeine! No, caffeine. Actually, know what it is, once again. For those of you wondering, it's warm again in my room, with the door closed. It is currently, as of time of recording this post-commentary, and I guess also the original footage. Wait, no, never mind that. We've got... This is something I stole off the Great Filter. And if you have not seen my video on the Great Filter, you should totally go do that, because that is a scary piece of engineering, that thing. It's so weird and wonderful. And this is a decoration I stole off it, or borrowed we should say. And basically, yeah, it's just a spin block with some decorations on it, and it looks freaking sweet, and I found an opportunity to use it. Because now we have made the superstructure slightly more super. And I guess looks kind of weird, but yeah, it kind of, I don't know, I think it kind of fits. It looks kind of cool. I think it looks pretty sweet. It's... I don't know. I don't build aircraft carrier. Do I look like an aircraft carrier guy? No. I'm a canoe guy. I don't even know if canoes have rotodomes like this. Somebody tell me if canoes have radar. Clearly I don't know anything. What are you doing? Oh, flags. Of course, you need flags. You need flags so everyone can tell which war canoe this is. Yeah, I think this thing's basically done. Yeah, I think... don't quite remember. I think the rest of this is just combat tests. And me just watching this thing while it kind of fails to destroy anything. Because I chose probably the worst kind of vehicle to test this against. And one that I wasn't actually previously aware of. And I think the last stream I did, I spawned this in just for giggles, just to see how well it would do against it, and we don't, because it actually is quite a difficult one. I think it's the reef shark. Not to spoil anything, but I just spoiled something. So I guess I did spoil something, and I should not have said not to spoil anything, because I spoiled it. So sorry. Well, never mind, I spawned in a trebuchet instead. So yeah, here's the combat tests. Just lots of combat tests. And yeah, we've already got things flopping into the water, and that's bad. Oh dear. And I don't know why that's another reason why aircraft carriers aren't very good. You need to launch those darn vehicles perfectly off them. I might just replace pretty much all the aircraft on this thing just with, you know, just with Lacustas. Might get rid of the missiles too. See, look at this nonsense. This thing has balloons, but it's not doing it. It's got too much drag underneath it. So while things are shooting at the trebuchet, we're gonna just do some emergency engineering on this thing by placing one more balloon in the correct spot, which is way up in the nose, I believe. Where's the nose? There's the nose. And saving it right here. Planes, carrier craft, Diamond Wasp carrier. There we go. And we're still winning against the trebuchet, I guess. Because all that big carrier canoe is basically just... It's a hull. It is a hull with some missiles on it. And there we see the rare case of... Wait a minute, that's not the trebuchet. What the hell is that? That's the javelin. What? Did I zone out? When did the trebuchet vanish and when did the javelin spawn in? No, wait. No, the javelin is the thing that spawned in the first place. I should really change the missiles on this thing. Should really change the missiles. I should also... Oh yeah, what was I talking about before? The temperature of my room. Always a fascinating subject. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, just a little reminder that I live in the Southern Hemisphere, which means that when it's cold for you, it's hot for me, and vice versa. And yeah, I get sleepy when it gets hot, despite my best efforts. I really need to shove an ice pack down my shorts or something when I do these, and then... Can you imagine how my commentary would sound if I just, you know, had a bag of frozen peas in my underpants when I did them? Oh no, please let me never become that kind of YouTuber.
What's up guys, this is BorderWise, and today we're doing the Frozen Peas Panties Challenge. Bleh. I'm gonna do something really stupid and potentially harmful to my body. For views.
I mean, I guess playing From the Depths too long is kind of harmful for your body. I feel fine right now, though. And, oh yeah, we should talk about what's happening on screen, because I keep forgetting to do that for some reason. Yeah, we're just decorating this Azapod back here to make it look more Azapod-y, I guess. Man, I love Azapods. They're one of my favorite things in From the Depths. It's weird the things that... Like, what are my favorite things in From the Depths? I like canoes. You probably have guessed that. I like small and medium craft that punch above their weight. That's always very satisfying. Love cram cannons when they actually work properly. And when they're actually shooting at things that can be shot by them. I love Azapods, custom jets. I like efficient shortcut ways to do things. I like things that are just straight up reliable. Yeah, just, I don't know. I guess building style counts for a lot. I should really whip my lazy high. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Warm in my room, getting sleepy. Caffeine definitely helps though. I really should run a tournament one of these days. Like, I've only entered one tournament before, but I reckon me running a tournament is something people would watch. The question is the logistics of it, like how to submit the vehicles. If that's on Discord via DMs, that's a giant pain in the ass. Like, I probably should, like, get an official email or something, but I'm worried that people will just spam me and send all kinds of crap that I don't want to or need to read. Like, there's not much else, really. It's like... I don't know, I guess Discord's probably the way to do it. I mean, I've got a Discord server. Did I mention that? I've got a Discord server. Come hang out. We're mostly cool. In fact, like, yeah, the overwhelming majority of people in the Discord server are pretty cool. Even me occasionally, when I'm actually in there. So yeah, this is the Reef Shark, and this was not a good idea to test against because it's actually... Well, it's really hard to hit this thing with missiles, and it's just so many damn torpedoes. There's just something so annoying about unexpected swarms of crap, which the Steel Striders are particularly guilty of. Like, there's just non-stop, just slams and guns and torpedoes and missiles and just lots of stuff. And yeah, literally not a good thing to do, because this thing is fast. It can catch up to us really easily. It's got strong decoys, and this is all missiles. This is the kind of craft which you, like, you know, you need lasers for this thing. You need particle cannons. You need big missiles. You need big remote-guided missiles, actually, so... We're gonna be staring at this a while, I guess. And the Sea Whiz on the back, man. Yeah... Not the best choice to test against, but then again, like, aircraft carriers are... Did I mention that before? I mentioned a lot of the drawbacks of carriers and From the Depths, but one of the big ones is that they're inefficient. A lot of their cost is just the same thing again and again. It's basically just make the things to make a vehicle functional repeatedly. as opposed to, say, another kind of large ship, in which you don't need that more than once. You only, like... Am I explaining this well? I feel I am not explaining this very well. The armor is holding up very well. Good thing we've got an aircraft carrier with decent armor on it, which is weird. So that's like, there's something... I believe on the last stream, someone in chat pointed out that this thing, the Reef Shark, it's like the Steel Striders looked at White Flare hydrofoil craft and said, like, yes, perfect, this thing is really annoying. And yeah, I reckon, like, I don't know, if people want a Most Wanted on the Reef Shark, like, by all means, like, let me know, because this is a thing. This is not a godly craft. It's on hard difficulty. That is where you'll find it in the spawn menu. But like, it's just it's got that kind of thing. It's got that kind of thing that Most Wanted craft tend to have, which is just unexpectedness. It's just you spawn this thing and you're like, whoa, was not expecting this. Although it's Steel Striders, so you should be expecting swarms of stuff. Just torpedoes and missiles and just really strong LAM system. Also, it's fast. It goes 80 meters per second with propellers, which is amazing. I really need to stick... Oh, and the fact that it keeps trying to collide with you, just wow. Should actually spawn in the Starslung Mark II against this thing and see how well... like this thing lasts. The Starslung Mark II costs like twice as much, so it'll easily beat this. Or at least it should. Like, you never know. There's nothing quite as demoralizing in From the Depths as testing one of your craft against a craft that is smaller and cheaper than it, and your craft loses. Like, I've had that happen multiple... It's like it happens to everybody. Like, whether you're testing against faction craft or workshop craft, or whether you're seeing your craft in a tournament, and they just get wrecked, and you're like, oh no, I've got so much to learn. I've got so much to learn. I'm not good, guys. Help. And just, oh boy. I'm starting to think that, yeah, they're like sending a missile. Well, what was I saying? Yeah, it's just, I don't know. This is a missile cruiser. It's not an aircraft carrier. In that sense, it failed. It is taking punishment pretty well. Like, it is listing a lot. I think buoyancy... Well, yeah, it's got a giant hole in the side. A dur. A dur, a dur, a dur. A dur, a day, a dur. Also, oh, annoying thing about... That's definitely something I should mention in the Most Wanted episode. Assuming I make one on the Reef Shark. And assuming people want me to make one on the Reef Shark. Is like just the fact that it drives so close to you and then just drops so many torpedoes that the kind of torpedo interceptor turrets that I love to use doesn't work so well, because it doesn't work so well when torpedoes are dropped right on top of you, so to speak, or right in front of your face. It's like trying to catch trying to block someone punching you in the face when their fist starts an inch from it. It being your face. So yeah, back to the drawing board. What am I doing? It's like, I think, at this point I decided, you know what, this is good enough, and that just wasn't the best thing to test against. And, so, I think, what do I end up doing these, last couple of minutes? I think, yeah, it's just mucking around with camo, and just finding good camo for this, which you can't see for the most part, because most of the deck is rubber, and the deck is mostly unpainted. Also, those markers on it are kind of pointless, since that's not how the runway work. So, yeah. Yeah. Looking at this thing now, I actually kind of want to make like a modern light cruiser. Like, I've done that before. It's a hull design that I should use more, because as much as I like the Canoe shape, I freely admit it is not the most volume-efficient hull that you can have. Simply because there's a limit to the amount of stuff. Like, it's really long for what you can stick in it, and just you know, the most effective shape for a ship in From the Depths is a box, a rectangle, with one end being pointy, and that's the front. And that's it. And it's actually easier to build than what I usually do, but I just like the sleek look. I just like it. Also, I just remembered I have not named this thing. Like, Carrier Canoe is, I don't know, that's a name in itself, I guess. But if any of you have name suggestions for this, like, if any particularly good ones, I will happily put this thing on the Steam Workshop once it's got a proper name. Because, yeah, even if that name is just Carrier Canoe. If you like the name Carrier Canoe, go find the comment, or the first comment in the comment section that says, yeah, Carrier Canoe, do that. And if you have another name suggestion, suggest that instead. Like, I don't know, you guys know how to comment. I have seen you comment before. You're pretty good at it for the most part. I mean, yeah, for the most part. Like, sometimes you flub it, but that's okay. We can all learn. We can all get better at stuff. You're still mucking around with camo, just going through the naval camo, until I finally decide, you know what, how about we just have the same kind of camo that's on the planes, so it matches. So it accessorizes. Honey, you gotta accessorize your planes with your ships. Like, really, like, what are you even doing? Do you think you're gonna go to the club like this? Like, with your, oh my goodness. Honey, that is not a good-looking hull from underneath. But I guess it's okay, you just keep people... You just squat down a bit and make sure people see you from above, and they just see your nice runway instead. What accent is this? I don't even know. Anyway, so, that's it for this, Carrier Canoe. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in it for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Let's build. Farewell.